Hey guys, welcome back to the show. I want to know what you guys think. Did the NCAA make a poor decision by leaving out Florida State? And today on the show, we have for the first time our co-host, Brent Chapman. Guys, welcome Brent Chapman to the show, guys.
All right.
Based out in Texas. So glad to have him here. Got a good round of applause. Guys, first time live, we're going with our co-host. Guys, thanks for watching. We invited a few people in to join. So, Brent, listen, we're going to pull this up right now and dial in for a quick 30 minutes, talk about the NCAA selection. Obviously, Florida State did not get selected. I'm going to pull the picture up right now so we can dive right into this now. So, obviously, look, you see the teams on there, 5 and 6 not joining this season for the playoffs. Michigan, Washington, Alabama, and Texas. So I want to get your take on something before I pull up other pictures. You know, Brent, obviously, I know what fan you're rooting for. I know you're based in Texas, but I want to know what you think about this. Did they miss the mark on not letting Florida State in the bracket?
So, first of all, thank you for having me as a co-host. I would love to see the selection committee on this. Is this like when Kelly selected Michael Strahan? Is that the type of process that we had for this? This is very exciting.
It happens so fast. And, you know, a lot of people, Brent, don't really know, and I want to let them know this too. You are the founder of My NIL Pay, so this is a big deal for you. You work with college athletes every day, college players getting paid. They want to know how to work, you know, how to get into the portal, how to change teams, how to make money. It's a big deal now. So seeing this selection happen, seeing Florida State miss the mark, Georgia missed the mark.
Yeah.
You know, what is your thought and take on the fact that they're not even in the playoffs?
Yeah, so I look at it like this way. So I'm trying to think of myself. It's Sunday morning. I'm on the selection committee. We walk into the room. We start the conversation, right? All right. Undefeated Big Ten champion. In. Right?
13-0.
Undefeated Pac-12 champion. In. Undefeated ACC champion. In. Okay. One loss Big 12 champion. And one loss SEC champion. All right, well, the one loss Big 12 champion beat the one loss SEC champion. Done. That's your 4 teams. I don't understand how you came up with this. Now, here's what I suspect actually happened. They walked in the room and they said, okay, how can we make sure Michigan does not win a national championship this year? Who's playing the best college football right now? Well, it's Alabama. So, okay, good. So let's have Alabama play Michigan. Screw Florida State. Screw that they beat number 5 LSU. Screw that they beat number 14 Louisville. Let's not worry about that. Let's figure out a way to make sure Michigan doesn't win the national championship. And there we are. Nothing against Alabama. They're a great team. But
the problem that I think, I'm going to pull this up. This is the major component, right? Florida State's kicking ass. Everybody knows they're great. And then this is what really happens. I mean, I'm going to give you my take, and this is kind of, I think a lot of people might go against the grain here and say, look, you're not right. You know, I don't believe in this. But at the end of the day, you know, best teams have to be in the championship. They have to be there. And ever since the injury with Jordan Travis, if I'm on the other side selecting these teams, I'm saying, look, here's my top 4. Before the injury, no doubt, I got Florida State in the top 4. This is a hard selection by any committee, anybody doing this. But if you had to bet your money, are you saying, is Florida State going to beat Michigan? Is Florida State going to beat Alabama? You know, these are some of the questions.
That's not the point. The point is, do they deserve to be there? And the answer is yes. They won all their games. They won a Power 5 conference. They went 13-0. I saw a great meme last night, Brandon, and it was a picture
of the injury, regardless of Jordan Travis, regardless of this picture right here, not having their star quarterback in the game, making plays, getting it done. You're saying when you look at this bracket, you're stating that you believe, regardless, that Florida State should be in the bracket. They should be they should be ahead of teams like Alabama, teams like Texas. You believe that they're going to beat those teams to get in this bracket?
Yeah, it's about, did they earn being in the bracket? So I saw a great meme last night of Trevor Lawrence, and it said, the NFL playoff committee has decided the Jaguars don't make the playoffs this year because Trevor Lawrence is injured. How stupid does that sound? That should tell you everything that you need to know about this decision.
I agree with that. I understand. And listen, I'm not saying, hey, I don't think that Florida State is good to play in the playoffs. I'm just saying if I had 8 teams, there's no question, and there'll be a couple other teams in there. And that's why I think the selection committee has to come up with something different. Picking 4 top teams, if you go to the NFL, it's a little difficult
What
right
is your
now.
goal?
Obviously,
Is your goal for the
teams
best?
like the Eagles and the Chiefs and teams like the 49ers now, and then you got the Ravens. And so what's happening, I think, truthfully, is when I'm looking at the committee and I'm looking at the teams that are in the bracket, I'm going, look, I know Alabama. If you ask me, Alabama is that organization that's a powerhouse every year in and year out. And I think during the season, people are like, oh, Alabama's fallen off. But they showed, hey, look, we deserve to be here. So they have to be there. Michigan has to be there. Washington. Then you look at Texas, right, too, and you go, this is tough. So I think they need to, instead of worrying about, hey, did we get those top teams, they should say, we need 8 teams. That should be where.
Well, next year we go to 12, right? So this is the last year we have to deal with this.
It makes perfect sense.
Yeah, and I don't understand why you would ever do a system in the first place where you have 5 major conferences and you only have a 4-team playoff. That's like saying,
look at the reaction. Look at this. I want you to tell me what you think about this real quick. So Florida State is watching the reaction to not getting in the playoff. And there you have Jordan Travis sitting with his leg up after surgery going, dude, I worked my ass off all year. I get this argument. I get how people are like, we deserve to be in, we made it here. We're 13-0. I get the argument. They won the games to get in there. But it's almost like this. You did all this, and now you lose your coach. Or now, you lose a big part of your team. This isn't, a backup linebacker or maybe just your tight end. This is your starting quarterback who handles all the morale, handles the play calling. He runs the team. This is your backbone of your offense and leader of your football team. He goes down. They're still a top team, but are they able to beat the top 4 teams? And I think that's why the committee's going, we got to make a decision. And when you lose somebody like that, they're like, you got to step out. You don't believe in that. You think the record puts him in regardless of who's missing from the team.
Dude, Ohio State won the national championship a few years back with their backup quarterback. It's just, you don't punish 150 kids. You don't punish 150 kids because one player got injured. You know this better than anyone, dude. In basketball, one player makes a difference. But you played football. There's 22 guys on the freaking field on offense and defense and
Can't
special
disagree
teams
with that.
and more. It's one guy, dude, and it only takes one Cardale Jones to step up and lead you to a championship. I just think this is
Tua came in as the backup quarterback. Tua stepped in for Alabama, right, and showed, I'm the best quarterback playing college football.
Right. Jalen Hurts. It's happened multiple times. I think this is wrong. I think it's biased against Michigan. I think it's biased for the SEC and Alabama. Do I think Alabama is the best team in the country right now? Yes, I do. I'm not saying they shouldn't be in. I'm just saying Florida State.
So why don't they just put them at number 1? Why don't they say, look, you're number 1. You're the best team. They have these votes. I know every team sitting in that committee at the table, at the round tables going, look, here's your teams, right? Here's our group of teams to pick from. Everybody in the entire committee has these teams right now on their board, with the exception of maybe 1 or 2 have another team that could possibly be in there. But realistically, when you look at that whole selection committee and all the teams around there, they pretty much have those top 6 teams in place. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's right. But let me ask you a question. Washington should have been number 1.
Okay, here's what I think about Washington. And, I actually have the same feeling about Texas right now. But Texas has proven stuff over years and history. And so I think a lot of people at the selection committee have been doubting the sports for a long time. I think a lot of people are looking at this going, well, this is an organization that produces talent year in and year out. I don't want to say it comes to money or who produces fans. I'm just saying Alabama is a team that with your eyes closed, you can almost bet all your money all the time they're going to win a football game. If you look at Michigan this year, you can almost bet on Michigan now too. Years ago you could. They had some roller coaster years. You can almost bet on them too. But right now, when I look at the teams, okay, in the bracket, we're talking about Texas and Washington right now. they've been good, but they skated into this a little bit. I don't think Washington's a bad football team, but I don't compare them in any way, shape, or form playing against Alabama. Yeah, can they upset a team like that? I just don't think that they're that good. Now, playing Florida State without Jordan Travis, the game changes. And I won't forget that Jordan Travis was actually down 13-0 against a team that, probably wouldn't even be anybody in the top 25. So that was confusing. I mean, he gets hurt. They step in. I pull this up again, a bigger image of the bracket. Who do you got going number one? Who's your main team in the top 4 in the playoffs?
Brandon, does it matter that Washington beat the number 5 team in the country in the conference championship game? Right? Does that matter? Because Alabama was number 8 going in, and Oregon was 5, and Washington beat number 5. Why didn't they jump to 1?
That is probably the realistic argument that I have for them to be there too. But look at Georgia, right? Georgia's kind of in that, that's
Georgia
a question that
like
people are talking about too.
Spots. I mean, that's crazy.
they need more spots. 12 is okay. I think 12 is like, we're not going to miss anybody. I mean,
16's the right number. 16's the right number. That way everyone has to play no buys, because you're still going to have this issue. Because let's say we're next year's system now, right? We're sitting here going, why didn't Florida State get a bye? Well, they gave the bye to Alabama because of SEC bias, right? Florida State should have gotten the bye this year, not had to go out and play whoever they were going to have to play as a 12 seed.
Well, here's the big picture though. And you kind of said this. I'm looking at these guys, in this video right here, and this is undeniable. There's one player in there, and look, there's other players that are hurt. Every team has hurt players. I mean, but we're talking about your star talent, your star player, the guy that runs the team. But when I'm watching this, and you said this, there's so many guys on the football field outside of him that worked their ass off.
Yeah.
I mean, literally, to get here. I'm not saying that that's bad. I'm not saying they don't deserve it. But I'm saying realistically right now, if I had to take my money, and the reason why I'm saying this is because selecting teams is almost like, who would you bet on, right? Like, these are my 4 teams. If I had to put money into a pot or into what teams would you pick? I would not personally, this is me, when I look at those teams, I'm not putting my money on Florida State with the backup quarterback. Now, rooting for an underdog, that's great. I do it every single day. Going by a spread, against Alabama -8, against Alabama -10, okay, if you get +8, +10, I might pick that in a spread. But I'm not picking Florida State to beat Alabama. I'm not picking Florida State to beat Michigan, definitely not. And Washington has been surprising people in Texas. I just don't think Florida State losing their starting quarterback has a chance to beat these particular teams. And you said 16. You think 16 teams should be in the playoffs?
So I do think there should be 16, but my question for you is, do you think the NCAA system should be more objective like the NFL? There is zero human element in setting the NFL playoff bracket.
That's a great point. No human in the NFL except for the refs.
It's different. Games. But when the games are over, no human sets the playoff bracket. It's all objective. It's based on standing and record and playoff tiebreakers and all that stuff. And there's a 1-7, and you're in and you're out.
And
they don't go, Buffalo's a great team.
We're going to vote here like a political debate on who gets into the college playoffs, especially when there's only 4 teams. That's the problem. If they had 8 teams right now, people would be upset at number 9, right? Like, oh man, let's give teams. Penn State, Notre Dame, whatever. Okay, let's just say they didn't make number 8 and they were number 9. Yeah, they're going to be upset. But the country, the world watching college sports is not going to have an uproar if number 9 doesn't get in. And I'm not saying they're not good.
I got it for you, Brandon. 5 Florida State, 6 Georgia, 7 Ohio State, 8 Oregon, 9 Missouri, 10 Penn State, 11 Mississippi, 12 Oklahoma.
There you go. So look, if you lost Oklahoma, Mississippi, and I'm not saying that I don't think that Oklahoma has a good team or Mississippi doesn't have a good team, but if they didn't make the playoffs and you stopped at Penn State or you stopped at number 10, right? Mm-hmm. The world's not going to have an uproar. that number 11 and number 12
that
didn't get to play on national TV.
That the third Big Ten team didn't make it in. Yeah, I don't think anyone's going to care.
That's okay. So here's my question about this. Is the other question I have for you right now. We pulled this picture up of Jordan Travis. Now, obviously the ankle injury was severe. We saw that he's out for the year, but then he wants to go and declares for the NFL draft. So now you have a player, okay, in Jordan Travis, who will people now, you see him here again, will he be high up on the ratings? Will an NFL team want to take a shot, on Jordan Travis, knowing that he's in this position? I mean, Tua had an injury, right? And it was pretty severe too, but will his ranking drop? Will they want to take him high? Will they want to play Jordan Travis? And that's the other thing. Is he that talented where people are like, we need him? He's a great player? Because that also goes, he's that damn good. He's no longer on Florida State. That's why they're not in the playoffs. But I mean, if you're watching these four teams right now and you have to pick your team, okay, to win, what team are you selecting? I mean, the out of the top four, who is the national champion?
You can't
Without being biased. This is not about being biased.
You can't ask a guy that grew up watching Jim Harbaugh hand off to Jamie Morris who's going to win the national championship, right? Hell to the victor. Like, I mean, I got to go Michigan. But yes, I do think Alabama is the best team in the country right now. And I think they've been put in a position where they will likely win another national championship. And it'll drive me crazy that Nick Saban's going to get one more before we expand to 12 teams. But I think that's what's likely to happen. Yes. But I am pulling for the Wolverines since everyone is against them.
And now they're going to be in the playoffs forever. Alabama almost got bumped out, right? And say, look, Alabama's not making the playoffs this year. It'll be headlines.
Brandon, if it isn't for Isaiah Bond making one of the greatest catches of the year.
I want people to see. I get it.
But wait, hold on real quick. If you don't understand the nuance of playing receiver, I don't think you really understand how great Isaiah Bond's catch is, right? He used his body to separate from that guy, to draw him in and then separate back without touching him. That is a phenomenal athletic catch. It is unbelievable. They are in the playoff because of Isaiah Bond. That is it.
Okay, so Alabama has so much talent. If you going in that locker room and seeing this is your starting defensive tackle, this is your backup. The backup can play anywhere. And most of these backup players.
He'd be the starter on any other team.
I mean, and that's the thing about it. That's why if Alabama has, and they go, look, you're not going to make it. We're going to put Florida State in. That's a problem. Florida State earned it, no doubt. 13-0, they earned it. But when I pick with my money, Florida State's not in the top four. I love the story. He's hurt. We got to see the underdogs get in there now. And people are saying they're not an underdog. They're a top team. Yeah, they are, with their quarterback. So now I want to see the story. I wish I could see the success story. Put them at number 8, number 7, number 6, number 5, whatever. Let them play in a bracket with 8 teams, 10 teams, 12 teams, and let them battle back. But who are they going to play? They're going to play like Alabama or Michigan. So when that happens, I just look. Jim Harbaugh has the recruiting down. We know he can scout the teams. We know his weekly regimen was put out to blast. How some people say true, not true, right? I mean, what's your take on that? Is Jim Harbaugh doing the right things or is Jim Harbaugh doing the wrong things?
Yeah, I think people were really upset about Jim Harbaugh when Bill Belichick did it 15 years ago. I mean, like, dude, that guy spied on a Super Bowl. Look, the guy, I mean, I don't know all the details of it, so I'm not going to get into it. But look, there's rules. They had rules. Did they break the rules? They'll determine that, right? And he faced the punishment for doing that. So I think that's fair, right?
Was that the right punishment? If in fact this was true, right?
Dude,
is that the right punishment for Jim Harbaugh?
The guy bought a ticket for a game, and so in the early things, he bought a ticket for a game and took pictures with his cell phone. I mean, I could do that. Like, now I know there was some other stuff that came out, like it was actually he was like impersonating a member of a staff. Okay, that stuff is crossing the line. But like, if he bought a ticket to a game and took pictures, like, come on, bro. Like, but there's rules, and he broke the rules, so they should, frankly. It's in the law, and a lot of things. When you have a rule, you have the punishment of the rule. They didn't really define what the punishment of the rule was, but they did set a rule that you can't scout, which I think is dumb. Hey, I want to add this, Brandon. I coach youth football for my son, and we scout the other teams. We have film session for U12 football where we film the games and we sit down with the kids and we go over the tape on the signals and the calls and the formations and the sets and what they're going to do. And when you see this, do that. So I don't understand why you can't do that at a Division I school in the Big Ten. But, the rules are the rules.
So what it comes down to right now is, and again, people watching this, obviously, I invited a few people to come on and watch the show. This is going to be every single day, 10 a.m. live, to go to 10:30, possibly to 11 o'clock as we expand. We're going to have athletes on here interviewing players, obviously coaches, ADs, other business people, bring them on the show live. It's going to be an everyday thing, 10 o'clock. And Brent, obviously, I need to pull your name up. People can see you. Brent Chapman, the founder of My NIL Pay. This is important because he is a big part right now of college football. This isn't just a conversation we're having talking about, hey, they should get in, they should not be in. Brent is the founder of the platform, and so now he's the co-host, and we're talking about the truth. Should these players that are all in this have the opportunity to play? Did they miss the mark on Florida State? I mean, the whole moral of, I think, of the conversation is they need to add more teams. It can't be 4. And this has been a problem because even in the past, they didn't even have a playoff. It was, hey, listen, there's no playoffs.
Yeah.
We pick you. I played in the Fiesta Bowl, and I was like, oh, what bowl game are we in? Oh, you're in the Fiesta Bowl. Great, because I play, New Year's Day, flew out to Arizona. By the way, got our ass beat by Utah. Was terrible. But at the end of the day, when you see that, then there's the Tire Bowl, and there's the Toilet Bowl, and there's the Butter Bowl. And to me, all these bowl games are an opportunity for people to market, advertise. I love it. That's great. But realistically, that's all about money and media and marketing, and I'm all about that. The playoffs is where people want to watch. No one's watching. You have in the NFL, you have the wild card, the playoffs, right? They need a wild card right now for Florida State. I think people are feeling that, but no one wants to know who the Bears are playing. Are they in the bowl game that's located in somewhere? It's great for the kids. It's great for everything that's going on. I'm not knocking that. The truth is, they need a real playoff market. Yeah. And the fact that the NFL started this for a long time.
Dude, they've needed this for a long time. When I was growing up, it was crazy. Like, they decided the national champion, A, vote on a poll, but 2, there was no game at the end of the season. So the Big Ten played the Pac-10 winner, and if they happen to be 1 and 2, then you got a national championship game. But sometimes it wouldn't. It'd be like number 1 versus number 11 or something. And then if they won that game, they won the national championship. And it's like, you didn't even play the top team. Then they switched to the BCS, then they moved to this, and now they're going to a real playoff bracket. But why did that take 30 years? That's the part I don't understand.
What bothers me, and I'm going to end this segment today with this. And Brent, so glad to have you on the show. First of all, I didn't thank you enough. We are excited to have you every day at 10 o'clock and all the people that are coming on. The expansion, I'll explain all that later. Big markets and networks, all the stuff, reaching out. I'm excited about that, but so excited to have you. What I don't understand is, realistically, who's making the decisions ultimately? There's a selection committee. Who's really selecting the committee, realistically? Who has the final say of what really happens? And so people really want to know that. So we need to get on the show some coaches. We need to get some people that might be in the selection committee on here and tell us, look, here's what's really happening. Why don't you spill the beans and tell us why, so people at Florida State can go home at night and say, kind of understand that. And what I want to tell people is, and Brent, if you have anything to add to this, add it now. But I'm going to close this out with something I want to say. You have anything to say? Anything else about Florida State, Alabama, Michigan, Texas, Washington? And again, Washington, Texas, you forget them every time. When you're talking about this playoff, you don't think Washington.
I will end this by saying, like you mentioned, I started and created a revolutionary platform to love and serve student athletes, and it broke my heart to watch those Florida State kids after everything that they did to not be able to get a chance to play. I'm happy for Alabama and Texas and Washington and Michigan, and I'm not saying they shouldn't. They should. They earned it too. But I felt really bad for those kids. I feel like they deserved it. And that's really what I would end on. But the good news is we don't have to have this conversation ever again, because next year we're going to have 12 teams.
That's
and true. These top teams, there's never going to be 13 undefeated teams. So I feel really good that we're going to get all the undefeated teams into the system moving forward. And that's something we should all look forward to.
The only time, and thank you, the only time we'll have this conversation again is if Washington or Texas blow out. Okay, if Alabama gets blown out, if Michigan gets blown out, there's going to be a lot of problems. If Alabama wins by a large margin, Michigan wins by a large, obviously they're playing each other, right? So here's the problem. If one of them gets blown out, they're going to say, oh my God, Florida State could have easily done this and done that. And I think that's where the conversation, if it's a close game, very good game, it's a tight game, people are going to look at Texas and Washington.
Nothing we can do about it, man. It is what it is. Now we move forward.
Brent, bro, thanks for having you. Appreciate you. First time live as a co-host. I'm excited for you.
Let's do it.
And tomorrow we will be, and I'll announce now, guys, Brent, thanks for having you. Tomorrow live, 10 o'clock, we're going to go over the Jets. What's going on with Zach Wilson? Is he stepping away from football? Why does he want to go on the field? Which we got some answers for you. And we're going to get some people live and catch up on that. Guys, thanks for watching the live show, first live show with co-host Brent Chapman.